A much anticipated matchup on Sunday, Baker Mayfield versus Lamar Jackson. We finally saw the potent Cleveland offense clicking on all cylinders in a 40-25-point road win at Baltimore. On that note, we welcome in our guy, Dan Orlovsky. Good to have you here with us. Stephen A., I'm going to start with you here. Is this more about good Browns or bad Ravens?
This is about bad Ravens. That's right. I said it, Dan. I heard you've been talking about me. All right, I'm glad you here. I'm not going to take any credit away from the Browns. Congratulations to you. You picked the Browns to win this game. I picked the Ravens to win this game. I was wrong. Here's the reality of the situation. The history of the Ravens is what? You understand? This is a team that won a Super Bowl, no disrespect, with Trent Dilfer as his quarterback. Defense carried them. For years, they've been synonymous with having a stout defense, the Ray Lewis, the Ed Reeds of the world. You know, what is it? T. Sizzle, Terrell Suggs, and these boys. C. Sizzle's gone. C.J. Mosley is gone. Eric Weddle's gone. The list goes on and on. You got Earl Thomas getting into it with defensive tackle Brandon Williams after the game because Saturday he was ruled out for the game and what have you. Obviously, Earl Thomas felt that, listen, man, if there's a way you could play because look at what happened to us for the second consecutive week. The Baltimore Ravens, and you know your football, Dan. You understand? That's why you better watch your tone when you're talking to me, man. You better watch your tone. You know the Baltimore Ravens, and you know good and damn well they ain't synonymous with giving up over 500 yards.
Right.
All right, last 2 weeks, albeit against Kansas City and now Cleveland. 500 yards. Give up 200 yards rushing last week. Give up 173 yards yesterday. Nick Chubb looked like the second coming of Walter Payton or Barry, whoever the hell you want to pick.
Nick Chubb is a bad dude.
I know
Always has been.
He was a bad dude at Georgia. He's a bad dude in the NFL so long as he's healthy. We all know health has been his issue, not his skill set, even though he was breaking tackles more frequently last season than he has this year. And then yesterday he showed up and showed out, no doubt. But if you look at the gap, I mean, damn, it was wide as Broadway. The gap that he ran through for that long touchdown run yesterday. All I'm saying is, Dan and Max, if you look at the Ravens defense, don't tell me that's what you're accustomed to seeing. It's not. The Ravens defense over the last 2 weeks, first 2 weeks of the season, who did they go against? I forgot who it was. I know it's Arizona, one game. And then Miami. I'm sorry, Miami and Arizona was their first 2 games. So you could make the argument that they're in a world of trouble or whatever. All I'm saying is I give props to the Cleveland Browns, and that's a subject for later on in the show. But the reality is that the Baltimore Ravens, they have been accustomed to being synonymous with having a stout defense. That is not what they look like right now.
You're all mixed up in the labels.
Are you going?
You want to jump on?
Are you going to heat this up?
Let me do this, and then you can adjudicate at the end. I'll say this. You're all into brands. And I'll leave the Ravens.
I'm all in the brand?
Yes.
You're saying that with a straight face?
I am. Labels are very important to you. For example,
Alabama,
if you're known for something, you need to stick to that.
Okay.
If this is your job description, you need to stick to that. I will leave the Ravens defense to you, okay? I'll just address the Browns. First of all, before I even get to the Browns offense, the Browns are going to have a very good defense this year. That's the first thing. They can get to the quarterback when healthy. They'll be able to do things in the secondary. They're going to have a very good defense. But offensively, Molly, I know you put up 45 points, whatever. You say the offense is clicking on all cylinders. No, it's not. Not yet. They're going to get Kareem Hunt back in the second half of the year, the back 9 or 8 as it is.
It's the first time they put up real points, big points.
Yes, but that's with Odell targeted twice and no Kareem Hunt. They give you 45. This is a very, very talented team. Look, when they got blown out by the Titans week 1, you may think, okay, maybe you revise downward by at least a game because you're supposed to beat the Titans at home week 1. But you also realized that they probably were going to get out to a slow start. Changes on the offensive line, new pieces coming in, tough schedule early. They were also going to win a game they were supposed to lose. That was this one. But none of this is even really the Browns yet. You will see Cleveland in the second half of the season, where, by the way, the schedule is soft for them. Fully loaded, if healthy, as a juggernaut, both sides of the ball. My original prediction for them, the over-under, was 10 games. At the worst, I thought, okay, maybe this is a 9-win team, but it also might be an 11-win team. That was good Browns last night.
Let's get back to the fundamental question of whether it was good Browns or bad Ravens. Listen, in football, the reality of yesterday's game is the Browns whooped the Ravens, manhandled them, whooped them on the field and in the scoreboard. And then you usually, when that comes to play in football, you go, well, were there a ton of turnovers by the Ravens? Or did they miss a ton of opportunities in the red zone for the score to be so as lopsided as it was? No, they just got handled. This is a Browns team that I would argue has had as bad a first month as any team in the NFL, with the expectations that came in and how they've handled that first month. Mind you, that they sit here today, 2-2 on top of the division. They went into Baltimore and did what? Did something no other team had done in the regular season against Lamar Jackson and the Ravens. Beat them at home, and they whooped them. No team had done that. They also did it without 5 starters. 25% of the football team wasn't there starting-wise. How is this not about the Browns going, we're going to line up and we're going to whoop you at the line of scrimmage?
Is that a rhetorical question?
No, it's not. It's a statement.
Okay.
This was about the Browns lining up and whooping the Ravens at the line of scrimmage. This was about them answering all the people who had said, man, they stink or they're overrated or whatnot. This was about the Browns being way better than the Ravens and doing something that hasn't happened.
First of all, here's where you lose this argument. I actually watch you from time to time. Okay?
Right.
When I have time, because I'm usually driving and stuck in New York traffic and stuff like that, and I can't watch you as much as I would like. But I usually watch you pretty damn good. And in the process of you being good, one of the things that makes you so good, Dan, is the fact that you don't just talk about winners. You talk about why people lose.
Right.
Quite adroitly, I might add. So what I am saying to you is that there have been several occasions where we've watched a team get whipped. And you talked about how weak the team looked.
Right.
You didn't talk about them you didn't talk about the team that whipped them. You talked about, wait a minute, this is out of character. These are the kind of things they're accustomed to doing. These are not the kind of things, these are the kind of things that they didn't do in this particular situation. Nick Chubb had a 65-yard, he had an 88-yard touchdown run, okay? Had another, I forgot what.
I want you to remember that touchdown because I'm coming back to that.
Okay, all right. So what I'm saying to you is this. I am in no way taking away from what the Browns were able to do, particularly considering the fact that they didn't have 25% of their starters. What I am saying to you, Dan Orlovsky, is that the Baltimore Ravens have been historically the kind of franchise that requires you not to have those guys missing in order to do something like that. So the fact that you were out in Njoku and other starters and you were still able to manhandle, not just beat, but manhandle the Baltimore Ravens on the defensive side of the ball, meaning the Baltimore Ravens defense, to sit up there and run roughshod over them. For a second consecutive game, they gave up over 500 yards. That's not John Harbaugh's team.
Right.
That's not the Baltimore Ravens that you've known religiously. And what we've seen over the last 2 weeks tells us something's wrong with this team. What we were saying about the Browns, we weren't inaccurate.
Who was the team who did it 2 weeks ago?
Who was the team?
To the Ravens. Who did it 2 weeks ago?
No, last week. It was Kansas City.
So do you think they're a good team?
Very good.
So how come the Chiefs can do it and be a good team and their performance be good?
Mean they were going to stay that way, but that's how they look. So we called it like we saw it. We ain't had no reason to say that about Kansas City. Yet when they go against Baltimore, all of a sudden Cleveland looks like Kansas City. That ain't about Baltimore?
No, it's about the Cleveland Browns, because first of all, that game that they played on Sunday Night Football against the Rams, they did not look like trash. They were bad situationally.
I agree with that. I agree with that.
So they started this trend. I want to bring up the Nick Chubb touchdown because everyone focuses on that 89-yard touchdown. And for people at home, go rewatch the game to the third quarter and click it when it's 6 minutes and 11 seconds on the clock, because you want to talk about a good football team. They ran the same play against the same defense and ripped off an 18-yard run. Good football teams go do what? Do what you do well. Like Max mentioned that you're a big person of. Do what you do well.
They have an identity on offense.
They watched that play and said, we just ripped off 18. We got to get back to it. The Ravens had just scored to make it a 6-point game, right? We're right back in this football game. Good football teams, when you got to rise up and do something well, do it well. And they ran that same play for a touchdown.
I just want to mention, I don't think this is as well as the Browns can play.
I agree.
I think Baker can be. I think Baker can be significantly better. I'm saying that after they put up 45 points, and
he's only completed 25% of his passes in the red zone this season. Of course, he could be better.
I just want to point out, this is how good this team is, how talented they are. Duke Johnson is in Houston. They There's no place to play him.
Higgins
Sorry,
is-
Duke Johnson.
All right,
we
we gotta go.
don't have a place
Gotta
for you.
go.
Callaway's coming, Hunt's coming, Greedy's
All right.
coming, Denzel's coming.
They didn't have either of their starting corners.
All right, Baltimore's defense allowed 8 points over the last 2 games. No
You didn't win that
bueno.
argument.
Dan sticking
No, you
around.
didn't. No, you
Danny
didn't.
Dimes continues to win, and it looks like Dwayne Haskins could be in for a long season in our nation's capital. But could the G-Men regret passing on Haskins for Jones? Find out that next.
Game winner.
Working hard. Yeah, I'm back on my grind now. Game on. Took a loss, but I